Welcome to Financial Strategies with Andrew Agemy in Connecticut and Daniel Agemy in Colorado.
The greatest fear of retirees is no longer the fear of dying. It's the fear of running out of money before they run out of life. And it happens over and over again. This is the greatest mistake that they make. And so the key, and there's a secret to not making that mistake. Today, we're going to talk about that. I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Today, we're talking about the secret to retirement and how to turn your savings into steady income. AAA, how are you doing today? It's nice to see you.
Oh, man. I am blessed. Man, it's been 4 weeks since my knee operation, and I've got some really good movement. It's not 100%, but I got really good movement, not using a cane anymore. So, and I just like seeing progress every day, and that thrills me. So I'm doing real good. How about you?
All right. Doing good. Doing good. It's a good time to be alive. There's a lot of craziness out there in the world, but you know what? I think we're so blessed to live in such a great country, and I think we're so blessed to have so much opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity out there, and I know sometimes it's hard to see, but I would argue that today there's more opportunity available to people than there has been in the past, and I know that's a controversial statement, but it's just knowing the right places to look.
Right. And that's why we're talking about the secret of retirement, right? Secret to retirement here. And we're going to get into that. But, you know, what you say, what I just want to say, going along with what you say, is to live, the scripture says, the Bible says that to live is Christ and to die is gain. And that's all a good thing. Only one life will soon be passed. Only what's done for Christ will last. So, you know, as long as I'm here, I'm trying to do whatever I can to have lasting value and feel God's pleasure upon my life. And that's why we're here, because people don't know what people don't know. And so we're explaining things and educating people about things that they have no clue about. Sometimes some of the people that are just tuning in right now may never have heard some of these things before, Daniel. But of course, our regular listeners and our clients, they've heard the stuff. But over and over again, I hear them saying, I finally get this, Andrew. Oh, I didn't realize this part. Oh, because there's so much to know. Not that we're trying to make everybody know everything. But, you know, if we give them an ocean of information, maybe they'll pick up some pieces here and there and be able to, you know, change their lives, right? So.
Yeah. We want to reimagine retirement. That's what we want to help people do, is reimagine retirement. And this secret to retirement is going to hopefully give people some hope, not to have hope for retirement or a hope that you'll get to retirement, right? You need a plan and a strategy for that, but hope in retirement and hope for the rest of your life. And I think those are very different things. That you have hope, you hope you're going to make retirement, and having hope in retirement are two very different things.
Well, exactly. And what we're talking about more is like the realization that everything is good. And stress-free nature, right? My 4 decades, you know, I'm in my 4th decade of being in this business, helping people retire, stay retired. And so you're going to be getting this information from 4 decades worth of experience, being able to help people. And so this is pretty cool. I'm excited about today. It's kind of interesting, Daniel, because you know, we really have to, like you said, we're going to reimagine, rethink retirement. And one aspect is knowing that you know that you're going to be okay, right? And we have a lot, most of our clients that understand what we're doing for them know that they're being okay. So when the hard times come, for whatever it is, when they hear a financial crisis or the market drop, they don't worry, because they know that we got their back, and that's not going to affect them in the way it's affecting everybody else in the world, right? Yeah. So rethinking, and let's talk about that a little bit, right? Because, you know, it's really interesting how many centenarians we have today in the world. So when we're talking about retirement, more than ever, it's possible to live in retirement longer than you have actually worked.
Yeah, absolutely.
More than ever. Because first of all, let's say people go to work at 20 and retire at 60, 62. Because, you know, actually the average age, according to a survey done by, I believe it was Gallup in 2023, the average age of retirement right now is 62 years old. Can you believe that? I would never have thought it was so young. But The point is that people are retiring. Now, that doesn't mean that they retire fully. That might mean that they retire from their regular normal jobs and they're maybe getting a part-time job or who knows what, right? All kinds of definitions. Maybe they're still working, but they're collecting Social Security. There's all kind. So we're just taking kind of like high level here. But the point is if you retire at 60, that's the average age. You retire at 60 years old. How many centenarians do we have today compared to what we had 40 years ago? A ton. Thousands, if not tens of thousands. And, I went back and for this show, Daniel, I looked and I said, okay, what's the chance if you have a couple that's 65 years old and what's the chance of one of them reaching 90 years old? What AI said when I looked that up was a 50% chance of one of them living to 90 years old. That's a long time. If they retire at 60 and they live 30 years in retirement, and that's just 290. Well, to 95, same question, age 60, couple age 65. What's the chances of one of them living to 95 years old? 33%.
Yeah.
That's pretty high.
I mean, that's what we're all about, right? When we're on the investment side of this stuff is the probabilities, right? We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know the future. So what do we look at? We look at math. We look at probabilities and we look at math.
Right.
And so when you're planning for your retirement with a 33% probability or possibility of living to 95, that changes a lot of the math that are run in some of these portfolio constructions for advisors whole, right? When they're running Monte Carlos and they're running different things, it can change some of these assumptions because that's a high probability to get to 95 years old, one of you.
Exactly. And that's the thing, the Monte Carlos and what so many people say, I hear over and over again. One of our clients from the radio show from Colorado said, Andrew, I went to my advisor. He told me I was going to run out of money when I was 93 years old. I don't want to run out of money when I might live longer than that. And guess what? She's retired. I think she's like 60, 62. She's retired now. And she knows she's not going to run out of money. And she is thrilled to death because we set her up to not run out of money. Right? That's the greatest fear is running out of money. And the secret is how to do that. And that's, this whole show today has been dedicated to that. But Daniel, I'll talk about those possibilities, probabilities. When I looked for what's the chance of a couple age 65, one of them living to 100 years old, 10%.
Yeah.
That says 10% of our clients are going to live to be 100 years old right? Or of the couples, right? Probability is very high. So it's important that the money lasts. I mean, whoever has on their bucket list, hey, I want to run out of money and I want to go into convalescent home and die. Nobody at all. So we need to make sure that secret is having more than enough income to live the rest of your life in the way that you want to live it or better. Well, you're listening to Financial Strategies, Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is the secret to retirement, how to survive, how to turn your savings into steady income. And today we have a gift we like to give to you, a special report that we put together for you. And this report is called the Income Generation. The Income Generation is the generation that is ready, close or ready or in retirement. And this report is an excellent report that's going to give you some information to rethink retirement, to understand how to be better prepared for it. Because, if you think about it, most people have been spending 30, 40 years building up for retirement. Retirement is a whole different way of life, right? And you have to think differently, right? Just like, we go through different stages in life. A child has a pediatrician and, when they turn 18, 19 years old, whatever, they say, you never hear them say, I'm going to go to my pediatrician anymore. So, because it's a different lifestyle, it's a different way. Same thing when you go to retirement. We have this, it's called the Income Generation. And we'd love to put this in your hand for free by calling us at 800-725-7616. You guys got a pencil ready? 800-725-7616 for your free copy of the Income Generation. Ask for it by name. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy, because people don't know what people don't know. Today's topic, the secret to retirement. Wow. We're just moving along here, Daniel. It's going fast.
Yeah, AAA. So when we think about retirement, sometimes people don't even know what retirement is. I was talking to somebody the other day who said, well, when I get to retirement, I don't know if retirement is going to be there. And I said, what do you mean by that? Because some people think like you get to a certain age and there's this magical retirement or something like that. And I said, other than Social Security, which number one is only designed to be about 40% of retirement income. We'll get into more of that later. But number two, can you actually depend on the government and depend on Social Security? That's another question. But other than Social Security, there's not some magical thing you get at a certain age, unless your company offers pensions, which most people don't have pensions any longer. And so those are two main sources for people in retirement. Those are typically, if there's a magical thing that happens when you get to a certain age and all of a sudden you can retire, it's either Social Security, which again is designed to be maybe 30, maybe 40, but probably 30% of people's retirement. And two, if your company offers you a pension. Now, there's a thing called a defined benefit program or a pension. And this is what companies used to offer their employees. And what that means is it defined the benefit, not how much they were going to save for you, but how much they were going to give you at a certain age. So the company takes on the investment risk, the company takes on all the risk, and you know at a certain age how much you're going to get for the rest of your life. It sounds really nice. It sounds pretty cool. And that's a retirement, right? If I work this many years for the company, then at 65 years old, I'm going to get my 90% of what I have been earning for the rest of my life. It gives you a lot of comfort, gives you a lot of security, gives you a lot of confidence. You know how much you can spend and you're ready to go. Well, we changed, the rules changed, and now people don't get pensions as much as they get 401ks. And a 401k is called a defined contribution plan because they define what you're going to put into it. So you know how much money you can put into each year. And it makes it really difficult for employees, for savers, for pre-retirees, because they see a pile of money. They got $500,000 in their 401k. They got $1.5 million in their 401k, but it doesn't equate to retirement. It equates to, I have this number that I don't know what it means. How do I retire? How long will that last me? And what people have to do is they have to make their own pension, essentially. Or another word for pension would be stream of income, right, AAA? And so you take that defined contribution plan. I can contribute $30,000 a year into my 401k. I've been maxing that out. It's growing. Now I've got $1.5 million in. I'm not going to retire off of $1.5 million because that will only last 10 and a half years if you take $100,000 a year. I need an income stream so I know it can last the rest of my life, just like those defined benefit plans.
Cool. That's what we're talking about today, making sure that we have more than enough income. The perfect retirement has more than enough income to live the rest of your life. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy, this father and son team talk coming to you to help you know what you don't know. And in an effort to be able to do that, we have a video book that we love to give you. It's kind of a 3-track video book, 3 different videos that you'll love to look at. It's entertaining and educational at the same time. Whiteboard videos, that's a pretty cool thing and very unique from that standpoint. Love to put this video book in your hand. Please call us at 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616 for your free copy of this animated video book, educating you on more topics, more pieces of how to retire and stay retired. 800-725-7616. Call now.
This is Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy.
Yes, Daniel, that's exactly right. Because when people retire, it's not that they need $500,000, $1 million, $2 million, because they're not going to go spend 500 or a million or 2 million. What they need is a check to replace the check that they're no longer getting from their employer, or however it is. They need an income. And withdrawing from principal is not an income. I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. And today we're talking about the secret to retirement. AAA, the secret to retirement. You've got 4 decades of experience helping people retire and stay retired. And you learned a lot of different things throughout that period of time. A lot of secrets of the trade, you might call it.
Right.
Typically, people retire one time, right? There's some people who are experts at retiring because they build a business and then they sell it and then they get bored and then they build another business and then they sell it and then they get bored. But not most people. Right. Most people just want to retire one time, and that's their whole lifetime. That's all their experience. We've all seen this, and we've all done this, where we do something once and we say, man, I would have changed this. I would have changed this. I could have done this better. I could have done this better if I had only known. And that's a difficult thing with retirement, because you, like we said, you probably only get one chance to do it. And so people can learn a lot from someone who has this type of experience, right? Someone who's helped hundreds, if not thousands of people retire. And and that's what this show is try to pass some of that knowledge on to people who are either in retirement or thinking about retirement.
Exactly. Daniel, it's one of the things I try to teach you and your 7 siblings, right, is the fact that, how to get experience as cheaply as possible. And how do you do that? By learning from the experience of other people. And that's a very difficult thing to do, because a lot of people have to learn, especially teenagers, right? They have to learn on their own. And it's a painful thing to watch. And that's what we have, right? You and I we go through a lot of pain watching people do it the wrong way, right? Learning on their own instead of, listening to tried and true methods. And that's what today's show is about. The secret is understanding income. Like I said in the start, so many times people think of income as withdrawing money from their accounts. That's not income. That's cash flow. It is money, but it's not income. Like you said in the first segment about, like, a defined benefit can create an income, money coming in for you. Social Security is an income. You don't have an asset. You don't have a bulk asset there. Social Security is an asset, but it's an income asset. It's not a investable asset. And many times people, all their life, they're looking at the investable asset, but they forget about when they get to the point where they need to start distributing the money and taking income, that they have to change it. And that's the secret, is changing at the appropriate time. Sometimes I see people that they change it, but they have waited too long. By the time they know it's time to change, it's too late. They cannibalize their assets. And, you also said the aspect of being able to know that you're going to be okay. And, a lot of people, and retiring one time, right? A lot of people in 2008, 2009 had to go back to work, or had to not be able to retire when they planned to retire because of what happened to their assets. And that's what I'm talking about, is that understanding that you're okay no matter what. A lot of people out there in our listening audience, I'm sure, are asking the question, can I retire? When can I retire? And those are very good questions. But, my question is, how do you know you can retire, or when you can retire? And a lot of people in our business will tell people, oh, you can retire, but you'll run out of money at 93, 94 years old. Well, that's not an option in my book.
So let's define what spending principal. You mentioned principal, and then defining income. So we got 7 different ways that people can get some income, but let's define the difference between income and principal. Because if we look at market history, and we just look back a few years, we look back to 2000, and we look at what the market did between 2000 and 2013. It did a lot of ups and downs, right? It had a 50% correction, it had a 60% correction, and then 13 years later, from 2000 to 2013, it was flat. And so if you were collecting income over that period of time, you could have supported your lifestyle, right? Mm-hmm. You could have supported your lifestyle. So if you got $1 million and all things being equal, you're collecting somewhere around $50,000 a year of income off of that. 2013, you may have more than $1 million, or you may have about $1 million, but you collected $50,000 a year of income. If you're spending principal, which is what most people think about when they think about retirement, is using their principal, what ends up happening is you take that $50,000 out, and as the market's coming down, you are having to sell more shares to get the same amount of money because it's principal, right? Or you put your retirement on hold. And this is something I talk to clients about all the time when they come in, is I say, I don't know about you, but to me, 13 years of no earnings is absolutely unacceptable. I'm not going to take that. You're not going to take it, but the world took it. The world takes it because momentum investing, index investing is the most popular thing you can do right now. And that said, if you stomached that first 50% drawdown the first 50% drawdown from 2000 down into the trench and then made it back in 07, right? Mm-hmm. And you didn't sell. And then you did it again, but this time it was a 60% drawdown. And then you made it back to 13. We have some clients who have done that before they met us. And they said, I don't want to do that again. We have actually many clients that have come to us since then because they stomached both of those things. And they said, I'm too old to do it again.
Exactly.
But your lifestyle, right? The lifestyle is important because you could choose to not take any income through that whole time, but that's not much of a retirement.
Right. That's not, you want to use your money in retirement, and it's not actually using your money, it's using the interest off of your money. That's the whole point. People are afraid of using their money. Well, rightly so. But if you just spend the interest, not the principal, hey, that's what the greatest generation did. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Daniel Agemy, and today's topic is the secret to retirement. And, we want to help you be able to learn how to be able to turn your savings into an income stream that will be able to help you and work the rest of your life. And if you don't need it all, well, we reinvest and compound your money the old-fashioned way. Well, today we have a book that we want to give you that goes right along with this whole thing. Free, no obligation. The first 5 first-time callers, the next 5 first-time callers at 800-725-7616. Just have a pen and pencil, 800-725-7616. It's called Common Sense Income Strategies. This is one of our favorite books to give away on our show by our friend Michael Easom, CPA, PFS. Michael's done a masterful job of explaining what income is and how it works. One of the things, that I'm always like, the front of his book has golden eggs on it. And I'm always talking about chickens and the eggs, and the eggs are the income, right? And as long as you only eat the eggs, you'll always have income. And that's what we're proponents of. We can have this book for free. Next 5 first-time callers, 800-725-7616, Common Sense Income Strategies. Call now for your free copy. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is the secret to retirement, how to turn your savings into a steady income. The steady Eddie income is the key and secret to retirement that most people have no clue about.
Triple A, so when we look at retirement income, we put together 7 different ways that people can create 7 different streams of income in retirement. And they say that most multimillionaires have 7 different income streams. And that's partly how they get there. Retirement should minimally be made up of 3. And we call that the 3-legged stool to retirement, 3 income streams. Because if one goes away, you still have 2. And you need some diversification there. So minimally 3, but we typically suggest 4 to 5 income streams because that really can help you. When we talk about not running out, if you're depending on one income stream, one pension or Social Security, that's all the eggs in one basket, a lot can happen to that. You get 2, it's a little bit better, but there's not a lot of confidence with only 2 income streams. So once you get to 3 and above, now that's where we start talking about having that confidence where you can ride out different situations, good markets, bad markets, sideways markets, this blows up, that blows up, the government's struggling, right? You can ride out different things when you have the different income streams.
Right. Yeah.
So number 1 would be what most people know about, right? Social Security. Right. It tends to be people's primary source of income. Now, this may be controversial because the United States government's in dire, desperate straits. They have a money printer, but that's not real money. That's still stealing from every single saver. When they use the money printer, it's stealing from you. So it still affects you even if they do that. But for the government to get a balanced budget, they have to cut Social Security. Now, it's promised to everyone. These benefits are promised to everyone who's collecting, and they're promised to the people who are going to collect. But really, it is such a big burden at this point in time, and there's not enough money going into the Social Security fund to keep that up, that they're going to have to cut, or they're going to have to print. And either way, it's stealing money from savers. So when we look at retirement, we have to think about that. 1, there's a huge possibility they'll cut. If it's not politically palatable, then they'll turn the money printers on, and that steals from retirees as well. Right. So when we talk about Social Security, exactly. Yeah. When we talk about Social Security, that's the first income stream, and it shouldn't be the only stream because of what we just spoke about.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I agree with you 100%. People don't know what people don't know. And that's why Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy exists. This father-son team coming to you today, talking about the secret to retirement. And what we like to say is the definition of a perfect retirement is having more than enough income to live the rest of your life. And so with that, we'd like to help you continue your education. And, like I said earlier, a lot of people are saying, hey, can I retire? When can I retire? And have these questions that come up all the time. And we have a special analysis called the RRR, Retirement Risk Report, or Retirement Readiness Report, that we can spend a few minutes on the phone to see if you are a good candidate for that, need that, want that. And if you're interested in that, call us at 800-725-7616. Ask for it by name, RRR, Retirement Readiness Report. Can you retire? When can you retire? 800-725-7616. Call for your free analysis. The biggest mistake retirees make is not switching from the growth model to the income model. A good retirement plan is having enough income to last the rest of your life. Any problem in retirement, it can be solved with income. The biggest concern that retirees have is running out of money. The second biggest concern is that they want to grow their money so that they don't run out of money. And they think it's synonymous when it's not necessarily the case. People don't know what they don't know. And they're not going to know unless somebody tells them. People think that the only thing that they can do to grow their money is by investing for growth in the stock market. And it's very much a herd mentality. But you can only get growth when the market goes up. When they invest for income, they're able to get money no matter what happens. I'm Andrew Agemy, founder and CEO of Agemy Financial Strategies. We've been helping people enjoy stress-free retirement for over 30 years.
You're locked on to Financial Strategy with Andrew and Daniel Agemy.
So you've worked 30, 40 years, and you've developed a nice nest egg. Probably in your 401k. And you've gone up the mountain of retirement. You're getting to the top of the mountain of retirement. It's snow-capped covered mountain. You look over the edge and it's scary. Your paycheck is changing. Your friends are changing. Your schedule is changing. Everything is changing around you. How did you get up there in a 2-seater sports car? Well, it's been fun, right? Up and down and twists and turns and all kinds of things. Convertible, wind blowing through your hair. It's been fun. But now you're up on the top of that retirement mountain, snow-capped cover mountain. Do you still want a two-seater sports car? Or would you rather have an all-wheel drive SUV driven by a professional driver that's been there before? I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Today we're talking about the secret to retirement. And AAA, I think people paying attention are starting to get what that secret is. What the secret is to making sure you have confidence in retirement. And
right.
It might be something about not spending your principal in retirement, but getting paid while you're in retirement, getting paid while you're in retirement so you can live off of that income. It's a different type of income than when you go to work and you collect your paycheck, but it's the same thing. You need that income so you know how much you can spend, right? Just like the client that said to me, I used to know how much I could spend because I got a paycheck and I knew what my expenses were and I knew what I had, and anything left over was extra money I could spend. Now I'm in retirement. What can I spend? And that's that income number. And that's where you have a lot of confidence. It's the same mindset. I can spend this income. I'm not tapping into my principal, and it will continue on and on and on.
All right. So it's so many times there are a lot of people out there, you've been talking about, and you start talking about the 7 sources of income, and you talked about Social Security. And then, the second one is pensions, and pensions is a nice income, right? And you talked about, the paycheck. You don't have that paycheck anymore. Well, how do you get that paycheck? Well, your employer, most private sector employers are doing something and investing money to create money so that they can pay you. They're right. And you're getting it, you're getting your paycheck from the profits of from the assets of what's being invested for your company. So in the same way, your assets when in retirement, if they're invested properly, can provide you a profit, a dividend, interest that you can get paid. And if you don't need it, you can reinvest it and grow your assets the old-fashioned way. But for some people out there in the listening audience, you have a pension. You're one of those few people that have been blessed with a pension, right? So that fewer and fewer are going away. Like Daniel talked about earlier, that in the 80s, they started, doing away with pensions, but there's still many of you out there, because you've been around long enough, that you still have a pension. And that's a great second source of income for that 3 or 4-legged stool that Daniel was talking about, right? A stool with 3 legs can stand really well. If it has 4 legs, it can stand even better. And if your retirement is based upon 3 legs or even 4 or more, that's fantastic. So one is Social Security, another is pensions, and then we come to what everybody thinks about, right, is their investments. But that's another way. The question is, how are their investments going to provide? Most people, like I said at the beginning of this section, are, they've been investing for accumulation, for growth. And if you keep investing for accumulation and growth in that 2-seater sports car, and you have to withdraw from your principal across that mountain of retirement, well, that becomes problematic. Yeah, sure, you might make it, but there's not a lot of assurity in that and security in that. So that's where, when it comes to investments, you need to change your investments from accumulation mindset to accumulation mindset, growth mindset, into a distribution mindset, an income mindset. If you don't need the income, it can be reinvested so you can grow your old money the old-fashioned way.
AAA. So I think what you're getting at there is when you look for growth first. So if you're in one of these momentum strategies, indexing strategies, market strategies, and your account goes from 1 million to 1.2 million, and you need $100,000, you have to sell your assets to get that $100,000, which is not growth, and it's not income. It's your principal. It's still your principal. Just because the account value went up doesn't mean that it's income. It's still principal. So you're selling your principal down to take that $100,000 out to support your lifestyle. Whereas the income, that would be $200,000 that you generated. You could reinvest that if you don't want it, but if you don't, you didn't touch your principal. And that's fine when things are going up, but markets spend 40% of the time in flat or down compared to they don't go up 100% of the time, right? So what are you going to do in the 40% of the time they're not going up? So folks out there listening, as we go through these things, this is for you. This is cool. This is fun. Check it out. So minimally, you need this three-legged stool. Hopefully, you've got 4 or 5 or up to 7, but ideally, you've got 4 or 5. Now, write these things down. Have fun with this. Play with this. See how many you have. So the first one was Social Security. Everybody has that. I mean, there's a few people that don't, but pretty much everybody has Social Security. So that's why that's first. Almost everyone has that. 2 is pensions. Do you have a pension? Will you have a pension? That's number 2. Number 3 is your investments. And we can get into a little bit more different types of things. You can create income streams from the investments, but personal savings, that would be number 3. And we'll go into the other ones here in a bit, but which ones of these do you have, and what amount of income are they producing for you? Is it enough?
Good. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy, this father-son team coming today because people don't know what people don't know. We want to educate you and be able to help you be able to make wise, smart decisions when it comes to your investments so that you can retire once and stay retired. Unless, of course, you want to go back to work. That's another thing if you want to, but we won't want you to have to go back to work. So we're trying to educate you. And today we have a white paper or a white report that we have put together for this show today to be able to help you understand this better. It's called Income Generating Investment Options 101, right? And Income Generating Investments 101. And we love to put this in your hand so that you can understand a different way of investing, a way that's less risk than the stock market, more secure, dependable income than the stock market, but you can still get growth from it. All right. And so we love to put this in your hand. Call us, please, at 800-725-7616. No obligation. 800-725-7616 for your free copy of Income Generating Investments 101. Call them now for that. You listen to Financial Strategies. Today's topic is Secret to Retirement. How to turn your income, your savings into steady income. And Daniel's talked about the different ways. We talked about different ways that we can have income from Social Security, from pensions, and then from investments. And Daniel, when it comes to the investments, right, we love the option of dividends and interest.
Yeah, absolutely.
As I'm always talking about the chicken and the eggs, right? If you invest in, you have to eat in retirement. And if you buy roosters, well, you're going to have to kill a rooster. And in your example earlier, well, if the market's flat, market's going down, you're going to potentially kill more roosters and run out of money, run out of roosters. But if you buy chickens and you only eat the eggs, well, then you'll always be able to eat. And if you don't need the eggs or all of the eggs, we can take the eggs, we can buy more chickens. When we buy more chickens, what do we get? More eggs. I love the client, not the client, but the radio listener called that typed in and said, I want more chicken. I want to buy chickens because I want eggs, right? And that's the concept of dividends and interest, something that you can depend upon, promise, and this promises guarantees contractual income coming into you. And then, another fashion is that of annuities. And a lot of people don't know that there's 4 different kinds of annuities. And we don't have time today to talk about annuities. We talked about that in other shows. But the thing I want to say about annuities is a lot of people have annuities. And if you have annuities, there actually is some great opportunity for you, whether they're, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years old, whatever they might be. There's opportunities to see about how you can do better. The Federal Reserve has issued a present to people with annuities that you may be available to. So you need to be able to take advantage of and get a second opinion on your annuity. So we definitely highly recommend you get it. If you have an annuity, get a second opinion. First of all, the question is, which of the 4 different kinds of annuities are there? Is it? And, can it do better for you than what you're currently doing?
So we talked about pensions, and with the pensions, a pension versus a 401k. So a pension fits in its own category, and that took all the risk off of the employee and put it onto the corporation, the employer. And the employer has to make sure that the employee gets that lifetime income, gets that. And the employee doesn't have to worry about stock market returns. The employee doesn't have to worry about picking investments. The employee doesn't have to do it. It used to be simple. And now it changed to the 401k. So it takes it out of that pension bucket and moves it into personal savings or investments. And in the investments, it could be made up of personal savings, money you have in the bank account, money you have in your savings account, right? Money you have in a 401k, money you have in a 403b, money you have in an IRA, money you have in a Roth IRA. These are different types of investments. And some people in retirement want to lock in a pension type income stream, and they want to take the burden off of themselves, off of the 401k. And that's where people do look at annuities, AAA, is they look at taking the responsibility of investing, taking the responsibility to have that guaranteed lifetime income stream from themselves or from their 401ks and put it on an insurance company. And that's what insurance companies are in business to do, right? Is to be there to provide you with an income stream. So we put that annuity bucket under the personal savings or investments, because that is another way you could basically build your own pension, your own income stream, take the liability off yourself and put it on an insurance company where they can give you a lifetime income in that bucket. So in personal investments or personal savings is that third way you can generate income streams, either through dividends and interest, through insurance companies, and through other types of bond and bond-like alternatives to the stock market.
Exactly. So how you invest your personal savings from your 401k or other savings matters a lot. And there's a variety of different ways. Annuities are one way, but then there's, buying chickens is another way to get the eggs from it. And, then there still is the growth aspect of common stock too. So there's a lot of different ways. And you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is the secret to retirement. And this father-son team coming to you today because of trying to help you learn from the experience of other people as cheaply as possible. And when we're talking about learning, we're all about education. And today we like to offer you a video book. This video book is a whiteboard animated video book. It's got 3 different tracks, 3 different storylines, so to speak, about retirement and how you can retire and stay retired. Easy to watch. Just call us at 800-725-7616. This is no obligation, free video book for you. 800-725-7616. The next 5 first-time callers, 800-725-7616. Call now.
Do you have any questions for me about retirement income source?
I just want to make sure I can invest well enough to have enough income, enjoy my retirement.
We build a custom retirement plan based around your income and goals.
How do I know I can trust you?
Building trust does take time, but our investment advisory arm is comprised of fiduciaries, which means our obligation is to you. So you can enjoy your retirement. It's a little more income stability.
I'm in.
That's 2 out of 3.
You're locked on to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy.
AAA, I had a client call in, and she has been doing real estate investing. I have built up a few different I don't know if you know this, but real estate in Colorado is extremely expensive. It's expensive on all metrics, and the income you can generate from the value of the asset is tiny. And this client had figured that out herself, and she was calling me up to say, I did some calculations, and not counting any of the work I'm putting into my real estate, not counting any of the roofs I have to replace, any of the floods I have to deal with, any of these things, I'm basically earning a 4% return off of the value of the properties. If I sold this stuff, I could put it into a money market account and earn 0.5% a year more. I'm Daniel Agemy.
And I'm Andrew Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. And today's topic is the secret to retirement. And we're coming at you today, this father-son team, because people don't know what people don't know. There's an example, Daniel, of somebody that did know. They just didn't necessarily exactly know how to get that more income from it. And is it really worth getting 0.5% more in a money market account when, but that's not what happened. Right? Tell us the rest of the story.
Not for all the work she was doing. It was a lot of work. And so we went through and we used some basic assumptions, and we talked about 6% in these bond and bond-like alternatives to the stock market. And it ended up, she's getting more like 8% now in dividends and interest. Wow. So she doubled the income because she sold the properties. She invested it and
no
closer
headaches.
to 8%. And now she can just pull that income in. So we've met a lot of people because real estate is the next thing on our list. And real estate is a way to generate income. Now, it all depends on your market. And real estate people know this, but it all depends on your market, because we know people who bought houses in Ohio for $100,000 and $200,000, and they can get $1,000 a month in rent. That's a wonderful return. Right. I mean, if you invested $150,000, you're getting $1,000 a month. That's awesome. That's a great return. That's a good way to supplement your retirement. Right. That would be a fourth leg on the stool. Well, in this case, it's the fifth leg, because we've talked about five so far. Right. But in the case with this client who started selling off real estate properties, it didn't make sense anymore for the amount of work, the amount of headache that was going on, and the amount of taxes and insurance. I don't know if you know this, AAA. Insurance and taxes in Colorado are going through the roof. And you call the insurance company to find out why they went up so much. Has nothing to do with you. It's because they have so many claims. They have so many thefts. They have so many break-in entries. They have so much hail that they just have to raise it for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're good or not. They're raising it for everybody. And I don't know if it's the same in Connecticut, but the other thing is they're raising property taxes like crazy. And it's because these governments, these municipalities are underfunded. They spent all the money that they got from the COVID payments from the federal government. And now they're saying, where do we get money? Let's raise property taxes. And people are struggling. People who own real estate to rent out and people who own their homes.
It's a terrible position to be in. And just think about it. I mean, you didn't even touch the fact of liability issues, right? We see everywhere you go, you see billboards for attorneys trying to sue or whomever, right? And we have a lot of people out there who 40 years ago would never have sued anybody for anything that are it's thing to do today. And they think it's a free lunch, but there's no free lunches, right? The insurance company has to pay that, whether they go to court or they don't go to court, right? They settle out or not, the insurance company's paying out some money, and that exacerbates, the situation. They make less profits, and if they're making less profits, they're going to have to charge more because of that. I know a situation where somebody was in an accident and, would tell you that didn't even could tell you that they never touched anybody, didn't hit anybody. And yet, there was a claim put in against that person right after the accident. And how does that happen? Because you got all these billboards and then everybody's wanting the free lunch and wanting the lotto, hit the lotto with a suit. And I'm not begrudging those people that, actually have pain and suffering and that kind of thing where they've broken something or whatever, right? I'm talking about the ones that are claiming stuff and just trying to see whatever they can get when there's not really any issue going on.
Yeah.
So that exacerbates it. And
the radio and the real estate stuff, I guess that's where your farm fits in too, AAA. You could buy a farm and you can grow chickens and you can grow grain and you can grow, I don't know, whatever you want, some beef on that farm. And that's another thing in that real estate section that you could do.
Yeah, that's a way you could be self-sustaining with the real estate, right? Exactly. Anyway, you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is the secret to retirement, how to turn your savings into an income stream and why to turn it into an income stream. Our definition of the perfect retirement is having more than enough income to live the rest of your life. And if you notice, I didn't say more than enough money. I said more than enough income, because it's not the assets that counts. It's the cash flow that counts. And so we have a book today that we'd love to give to you to be able to help you continue in your educational prowess. And that's called Common Sense Income Strategies by Michael Easton. Michael Easton and I have been known each other for 15 years or so, I think. And, he's a great guy, CPA, PFS, done a fantastic job on this book. This is one of our go-to books when talking about how to be able to not outlive your income. And we'd love to put this in your hand. It's an easy read book. 800-725-7616. 800-725-7616 for the next 5 first-time callers. 800-725-7616. And call now. Daniel, as we're talking about this stuff, right? So we're going down a list. We don't have that much longer in the show today, but we're going down this list and we talk about real estate, and that was good. We see that all the time where people have they're especially in Colorado, where their properties are worth so much more than what they're making, and without they could change that around without all the work and make the same, if not more money, right? Even after capital gains taxes. But, one thing that people often do in retirement is have what they call their retirement job. A friend of mine's father died just recently, and his retirement job was, he's a car guy, and he was driving for the parts truck for a parts company, auto parts store, right? Delivering parts to different garages and such, right? Everybody would like to have that retirement job where they're still earning a little bit of money. Maybe it's, pocket change. Maybe it's a little bit to keep them floating, but part-time work. Sometimes they go back to their employer. Sometimes they're able to start their own contracting businesses. Sometimes they get in retirement and say, hey, forget this, and we're not going to do this at all. So the sixth area where people are able to get income for in retirement is to continue working. But, when I go into a restaurant and I see a 75-year-old woman serving in the restaurant, there's one thing, there's a lot of things I don't know why she's there, but there's one thing I do know. She's not there because she wants to be there. Serving and waitressing is really hard work, but some people have to do that because all they have is Social Security. And talking about Social Security, one thing we didn't go on is a lot of times people will collect Social Security early. They think that's the best way to get it, but then they die, and their wives, who live longer than the men, oftentimes are stuck with a lower Social Security because of that decision. That's what we're wanting to prevent people from. But this part-time work is another avenue to be able to get income.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're mentioning that about Social Security, there's over 500 ways to collect Social Security. And so it's really important when you start Social Security to look at the different options, because it could be, and it's all dependent on your personal situation, but it could be $100,000 difference over a lifetime in the way that you collect that. But yeah, part-time work, some people do it because they enjoy it. Maybe it's selling paintings. Maybe it's writing an ebook. It's writing a book. Maybe it's doing some consulting work. One of the cool things about doing some part-time work is it gives you maybe it gets you out of the house. It gives you a little bit more purpose, especially if something you enjoy doing. Right. But the other thing is it can allow you to pack some more money away. So some people are like, Daniel, how do I get more money to my Roth IRA? And I'm like, you already converted all your IRA money. You have no earned income. So there's not really anything you can do to get more into the Roth. So a part-time job would fix that. You could pack some more money away into a Roth if you wanted to. And so this is our least favorite. Right, AAA? When you're retired, we want you to be retired and enjoy your retirement.
Right.
If you enjoy this, great. If you need to do this, well, you need to do it. But as we go down through this list, these last two are really, you kind of didn't save enough, and so you're making up for it. Or you just enjoy doing these things.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then, the next, then there might be, number 7 would be sometimes there's other oddball kinds of things that people are able to get income from, various, not particular jobs, but side hustles, as you might say, and various different things, right? Collecting, I know one guy that, would do in Connecticut, we have deposit cans and bottles. And so he would go around and pick up deposit cans and bottles and get the money from those, right? Side hustle kind of thing. Not a job per per se, but, kept them busy and kept them in some pocket change. So, various other sundry things that without getting into the crazy stuff from that standpoint. But, the key is to evaluate how much you need in retirement, how much you need to live on from the top down. And a great way to do that is to be able to seek professional advice, right? Get a financial advisor, somebody, not just any financial advisor, but especially somebody that specializes in retirement income and getting you the most possible of income from that standpoint. Because people don't know what people don't know. But that comes with, if you go to somebody, you got to understand what kind of investor you are, first of all. Are you an aggressive investor? Are you a conservative investor? Are you speculative? What are you, right? Because what you are is going to be dependent upon the type of advisor or professional advice that you seek, because not all professional advisors are created equal, right? There are speculative advisors, there are aggressive advisors, there are conservative advisors, there are income-oriented advisors, specialists in the financial industry, just like there is within the medical field. So that is going to be key to be able to understand that. And, today, what we'd like to do to be able to help you towards your retirement is, again, like I said earlier, people are always wondering, can I retire? When can I retire? I hope I can retire. These kinds of things comes out of people's mouths. And we have a great one-page analysis that's got a lot of stuff behind it. It takes me hours to put that together. If I had to charge you, I'd have to charge you $3,000 in order to put this. But because you're listening to the radio show today, I'll do it for free. It's called the Retirement Readiness Report. And this is what would help you to understand if you can retire, when you can retire, how ready are you for retirement, whether you're 10 years away from retirement, 5 years away from retirement, in retirement, whatever the case may be. Call us at 800-725-7616 for your free RRR. Ask for it by name, Retirement Risk Report, RRR. Well, it's time to close our show for today. We appreciate you joining us. Hope that you join us same bat time, same bat channel next week. And we'll look forward to coming in for you with more stuff so that you can know what you don't know. In the meantime, remember that to invest, if you want your retirement to be stress-free, invest for the I more than the G.